Welcome back to the channel, and we're back on this gasser build yet again. I mean, it's all we got going on right now. Well, for today's episode, we're finally getting into it. We're going to start doing the brake lines and the clutch line. I'm ready to drive this thing. I want this thing to be done, just not because I don't enjoy working on it, but because I want to drive it. So today, like I said, we're going to be starting to do our brake lines on the front and our clutch line. The rear brake lines are already made. They're good. The whole reason I don't use the brake lines in the front that are already there is because on this side, I don't know if it's going to be easy for you guys to see. Let me grab a flashlight real quick. But if you look down in here, the brake line goes right under the collector. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it goes right under the collector. And we have these really nice fittings right here on the frame that the brake line's supposed to go to, but for some reason they're connected right there and the brake line comes all the way down to there. So I'm going to run the brake line to connect to those, so they'll look like this side right here. So then the brake line will only go right up to there versus back there to that. The clutch needs to go from here down and under the car and to the little actuator that's down there for it to engage. So I think we're going to start with the clutch first and then we'll work on the brake lines. I've never actually made brake lines from scratch, so this is 100% new to me. So I'm going to give it my best shot. Can't exactly go to the parts store and say, hey, can I get brake lines for a straight axled 1962 Ford Falcon? More than likely they're not going to have something that's even remotely close to fitting that. So let's hop right to it. Alrighty guys, so what you're about to see is a milestone. I still have to do the brakes, but we got the clutch done. We'll let you check it out real quick. Right there. See the line going down all the way around to right there. It's probably a little greasy right now and shiny looking because there's fluid everywhere because we just bled it and all that. But we're about to give it a try and see if she'll spin the tires under her own power. So, that being said, I'm not going to hold it up anymore. I want you guys to see this. So it's the next morning. Got a little bit of an early start. I tried starting to make brakes for it. It's not the best looking, but this is that would have been for the driver's side. But what I've noticed is on this side, it just keeps binding up. This side actually doesn't even really need to be redone because it doesn't interfere with the exhaust or anything like that. Like the passenger side, Obviously I know you can't see it, but I'm just gonna wind up running them like this. There's nothing stopping it from working right there. It's probably not the best looking, but the way I keep making them, I made like 3 different sets for the driver's side, and every time I try to make it line up with the other side of the frame rail right here where this nipple is, it just keeps binding up with the steering and all that, or it's right in front of the exhaust. There's not much I can do about it. So what I did was I just bent the other side away from the exhaust, and it comes out in the exact same location right there. So both sides are just gonna be set up like that. Hold on. Right there. But essentially that's how it's gonna be. So now all we gotta do to have brakes is there's a couple nuts under there I have to go tighten up. All the lines are just finger tight. And then we're gonna fill it up, bleed it, test them, and we have to get under the car, tighten a bunch of suspension stuff, find a couple nuts. There's like the motor mounts don't have any nuts in them. Well, it has 1 nut in it. The transmission mounts missing a couple nuts. A bunch of what are they called? Jam nuts on the adjustable rear track bar or the steering and all that stuff. None of them are tight. I got the car that way, otherwise they would have already been tight. Once we get all that done, we're gonna get it down off these jack stands, see if it moves forward and backwards under its own power. I have to put something in there for me to sit on. But after that, we might be taking it further up the road in this episode, who knows? So, that being said, let's get to it. We're going to start filling these brakes up, and well, we're going to tighten all the loose fittings, and then we're going to fill them up and bleed them. So, here it comes. Alrighty, so now that we got those brake lines all tight, what we're going to do is we're going to fill them up. We're going to try and bleed it, check for any leaks, test them, all that stuff. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so we've kind of had a bit of a hiccup. Like I said earlier in this video, I've never, ever made brake lines before in my life. I've changed brakes before, but I've never had to make brake lines before. So I've made these brakes for this car a total of 3 times today for the entire length of the car. I've spent over $100 in brake line and fittings and fluid. And honestly, I'm about to give up, just because of the sheer fact of brakes is something that is very essential. I don't want it to hold fluid while I'm pumping them up, and the first time I go drive it, I have no brakes. That puts me at risk, that puts everyone else on the road at risk. So what I'm gonna go do is, I'm not gonna finish it this video, this isn't even gonna happen in this video. My buddy owns a shop. No, I'm just gonna drop it off to him. He works on classic cars all the time, and from booster to caliper, he's gonna make me all new brake lines, and the car will be driven home. While the car's at his shop, he's gonna do an exhaust on it. I'm gonna have him do a bunch of little things. So we're gonna be working on a couple things until the car gets dropped off. He's gonna have it for about a week. And while he's working on it, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to film his progress and all that to make more content for you guys. It's just going to be him working on it. But he's a very good fabricator. He's great with brakes. And as long as he's cool with me filming him and being put on YouTube, we'll have content with him doing work on the car. But the main thing is brakes is very important, and me not knowing what I'm doing, I don't want to put someone else in harm's way or myself. So he's going to do that mainly. But I really wanted to do a set of the gasser headers where they come out and down into the fenders. He's also going to fab up a set of those for me while the car's there. But that being said, once he's done, the car's going to get trailered to him, but I'm driving it home. So we're going to work on some other stuff. We're going to figure out what we're going to do, and we'll get right back with you. Alrighty guys, so it's the next couple of days later-ish. I'm not really sure how long it's been. It's definitely been a few days, so not quite sure where we left off, other than the fact that I know I'm just going to take this to my buddy's shop. He has a bunch more experience making brake lines. I don't really have that much experience actually making my own lines. I can change brakes, I can change rotors, I can do all that crap. It's not that hard, but I keep having issues with the brakes leaking, the lines themselves, the fittings, and that's not really something I want to take a risk on driving down the road. So that being said, I waited for a few things to show up. So today what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to start wiring. I know it's not the funnest thing, but we're going to start the wiring. I'm still waiting on a few more things to show up. And then I also got this as well. This is pretty cool. So when the car goes to the shop for the brakes, we're also going to be getting these. Got some headers, well, header kit. And my buddy's a great fabricator. And pretty much what we're going to do is the header is going to be a fender exit header, just like on the old school gassers and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get started on this wiring. Alrighty, so I was in the process of wiring. As you can tell, you just watched me do a little time lapse of me making the power wire. I haven't quite made it to the ground yet. The only ground I made was for the remote terminals, which I did not film. I don't want to just have a montage of me putting ring terminals on 4 and 0 gauge wire. It just doesn't sound like it'd be all that fun. But I did run into a little issue. I got the wire that goes from the battery to the kill switch, and then the wire that goes from the kill switch to the circuit breaker, and from the circuit breaker all the way forward, and it's connected up here at the solenoid, the starter solenoid. So the issue was, as I was about to connect to from the, what's the word I'm looking for, the circuit breaker to the starter solenoid, I over-tightened it and cracked it, and it wound up actually falling apart in my hand when I took it apart. There was no power to it, so it didn't really make much of a difference. There's no power wire on the battery yet, but I'll show you what exactly happened, and it's starting to come out halfway decent. It's not, I think I say this a lot, it's not the best, but it's not terrible. So I don't know if you can see any of these wires right here. You got these coming from the kill switch, remote terminals. This was the circuit breaker I broke, and as you can tell, you see that little spring coming out. There was a terminal right there, which this connected to, and from there it went all the way forward and then under the car and up to the starter solenoid. This is the main power that is obviously not connected. So I have to find another circuit breaker before I can finish this. I also need to get the ground ran. Yeah, after that, I have to run some wires over here, the main power off of the, whoa, my mind's going blank, off of the kill switch over here to where the fuse panel is going to be, right over here somewhere, and a main ground over there. So the fuse panel is going to kill everything. So that being said, let's see if we can't find us a, wow, a circuit breaker. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time remembering the names of these little things, but we'll see if we can't find one. If not, we'll just run the ground and we'll leave the battery disconnected so it doesn't have two hot wires just laying on the trunk floor. But yeah, we'll run up to the parts store, see if they have one, and then be on our way. All right, bye. All right, so I called all the local parts stores. No one has it. So it's going to be here on the 23rd. Today, I think, is the 12th. So got to order it, and it's going to take a minute. So the car won't be running for a little bit, but not too long. So that being said, we're going to continue on, get the grounding done, and when a couple other little things are here, we're going to start working on the fuse panel and wiring up headlights, tail lights, tag lights, all that fancy crap. Gauge lights, I have gauges on the way to replace those old ratty gauges. Put a nice little switch panel in the car. I also ordered an electric water pump and electric fans. So that'll be nice in case it ever starts to overheat. I can shut the car off and continue to run those and hopefully save my head gasket at some point. I don't plan on it ever overheating, but just in case it does, I'm a big fan of redundancy, and I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So that being said, we're gonna get started on the grounding wire, the main ground that goes to the up here to the starter solenoid, and then yeah. So that being said, we'll get to it. Alrighty, so again, I apologize that I haven't been able to film as much as I would like to of me doing this, but wiring stuff with just one person, trying to pass stuff in and out of the car and setting this camera up, it's very difficult. So me actually working on the car hasn't been filmed, it was just me making the wires. Like I said, we're still waiting on the circuit breaker to show up, and then we'll get it in the car. It'll be all set up. Once the circuit breaker shows up, we'll get all these wires nice and tucked and zip tied back to where they look clean and stuff. But for right now, it's kind of, like I said, a little hard to see, but like these ones will get zip tied together all the way up to the circuit breaker. This one will be zip tied to it. That'll be zip tied all together. Those will be cleaned up back there. I'm still waiting on some strapping. So right now the wires are just zip tied up. It's not permanent. Once I get the strapping to show up, that'll get all fixed and be securely mounted to the body, and not the power and ground zip tied together. But got it all done, and that's going to be pretty much it for this video. Again, like I said, I'm sorry about the being able to film everything that I do. It's kind of difficult when you're by yourself, but we're going to be trying to work on that and see if I can't get someone in to help film me while I'm working on this thing. I have a couple friends that are interested and want to join the channel. If you guys enjoy my videos, like, comment, subscribe, share them. Really appreciate you guys doing that. I really enjoy reading the feedback that I keep getting. It all seems to be really good, constructive criticism telling me that maybe I'm doing something a little wrong or to fix this, fix that, and it's definitely helping me. I'm not claiming to know everything. I'm just trying to do my best, and I really appreciate you guys being really cool and commenting, and that's awesome. On another note, we hit 200 subscribers yesterday. That's freaking awesome. I really appreciate that. Let's keep it going. Yeah, so thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Peace.